life of a Roman soldier was one of discipline, endurance, and routine. Whether stationed at a distant frontier fort or marching across foreign lands, every day was structured to maintain order, readiness, and loyalty to the empire. A typical day in the life of a legionary, part of Rome's professional army, was filled with rigorous training, hard labor, and the ever-present threat of battle. Though the specifics varied depending on location and circumstances, the core of a soldier's existence remained consistent across the vast Roman Empire. Morning, dawn, and discipline. The day began before sunrise. The Roman army operated on strict discipline, and punctuality was non-negotiable. At the first light of dawn, a trumpet blast, called the bucina, echoed through the camp, signaling the soldiers to rise. There was no time for sluggishness. Any man slow to assemble faced punishment. Roman soldiers slept in shared barracks, in permanent forts, or leather tents, while on campaign, usually grouped in units of 8 called contubernia. These men lived, ate, and fought together, forming close bonds. After rising, the soldiers quickly dressed in their military tunics and strapped on their caligae, sturdy leather sandals designed for long marches. They then gathered for roll call. A centurion, the backbone of Roman military discipline, inspected each man, ensuring no one had deserted during the night. Desertion was a serious offense, punishable by death, so accountability was paramount. Breakfast, simple sustenance. Following roll call, the men ate a modest breakfast, prandium. Roman soldiers were not indulged with lavish meals. Their rations were practical and designed for endurance. A typical breakfast might consist of pulse, a simple wheat porridge, bread, cheese, and sometimes smoked meat or dried fish. Wine was diluted with water, as drunkenness was severely punished. Soldiers carried their own eating utensils, including a wooden bowl and a spoon. Forks were not yet in common use. Training, the foundation of Roman might. With the sun now fully risen, the real work began. Training was the cornerstone of the Roman army's effectiveness. Unlike many of their enemies, Roman soldiers were not merely warriors but highly drilled professionals. Every day, regardless of whether they were at war or in peacetime, they trained relentlessly. The first exercise was often a long march. Roman soldiers were expected to cover vast distances quickly, so they frequently practiced marching in full gear. A fully equipped legionary carried around 60 pounds of equipment, including his larica segmentata, segmented armor, helmet, galea, shield, scutum, sword, gladius, dagger, pugio, and a pack containing rations and tools. They marched in formation, maintaining perfect synchronization, as disorderly movement could be fatal in battle. After the march, they engaged in weapons training. Recruits spent hours practicing with wooden swords, rudis, against wooden posts, paulus, to perfect their strikes. Veterans sparred with each other, honing their skills in close combat. The gladius, a short but deadly sword, was the primary weapon, used for thrusting rather than slashing. Soldiers also trained with the pilum, a heavy javelin, throwing it at targets to improve accuracy. Drill formations were another critical part of training. The Roman army's strength lay in its ability to maneuver as a single unit. Soldiers practiced forming the testudo, tortoise, formation, where they locked shields to create an impenetrable wall against arrows. They also rehearsed battle lines, learning to shift from a loose formation to a tight phalanx at a commander's order. Midday, labor and maintenance. By midday, the intense training eased, but the work was far from over. Roman soldiers were not just fighters, they were also builders, engineers, and craftsmen. The empire's vast infrastructure, from roads to fortifications, was built and maintained by the legions. If stationed at a fort, soldiers might spend hours repairing walls, digging ditches, or constructing new buildings. They were skilled in carpentry, stone masonry, and even road paving. The famous Roman roads, which connected the empire, were often laid by military labor. If on campaign, they built marching camps every night, a remarkable feat of engineering that provided security wherever they went. Other duties included maintaining weapons and armor. A soldier's gear was his lifeline, so cleaning and repairing it was essential. Rust on a sword or a loose strap on armor could mean death in battle. Some soldiers also took on specialized roles, such as blacksmiths, medics, or clerks, depending on their skills. Afternoon, more drills and duties. The afternoon often brought another round of training, though sometimes less strenuous than the morning's exertions. Soldiers might practice archery if they were auxiliaries, non-citizen troops who specialized in ranged combat. Cavalry units drilled in horsemanship, practicing charges and formations. For those not on additional training, there were guard duties. Sentries were posted at all times, watching for enemy movements or disturbances within the camp. Patrols scouted the surrounding area, ensuring no threats lurked nearby. Discipline was strict. Falling asleep on watch was a capital offense. Evening, meal and rest. As dusk approached, the soldiers gathered for their main meal, cena. This was the heartiest part of their diet, often featuring bread, lentils, beans, salted pork, or whatever local provisions were available. In some frontier posts, soldiers received grain rations and had to bake their own bread. Beer or watered-down wine was common, though excessive drinking was forbidden. After eating, the men had a brief period of leisure. Gambling with dice was a favorite pastime, though it was technically illegal. Many soldiers did it anyway. Some wrote letters home on wax tablets, while others sharpened weapons or mended clothing. The sense of camaraderie was strong, with soldiers sharing stories or jokes to pass the time. Night, sleep, and vigilance. With nightfall, another trumpet signaled lights out. Soldiers returned to their tents or barracks, wrapping themselves in woolen cloaks for warmth. The camp never truly slept, however. Sentries remained on duty, changing shifts throughout the night. If the army was on the move, scouts kept watch for ambushes. For the average legionary, sleep was a precious but fragile thing. The threat of attack was constant, especially in hostile territories. A sudden alarm could send the entire camp into a battle-ready frenzy within minutes. The unpredictable reality of war. While this routine describes a typical day, the life of a Roman soldier was anything but predictable. If battle came, all training and discipline were put to the test. The chaos of combat was brutal. Men fought in tight formations, relying on each other for survival. Wounds were common, and medical knowledge was limited. A severe injury often meant death from infection. For those who survived their 25-year service, retirement brought land and Roman citizenship, if they were auxiliaries. But until then, every day was a test of endurance, loyalty, and strength. The Roman soldier's life was harsh, but it was this very rigor that built and sustained one of history's greatest empires. Through discipline, training, and unyielding order, the Roman legionary became a symbol of military excellence, a testament to what organized, determined men could achieve. Whether constructing roads, standing guard in the freezing rain, or charging into battle, the Roman soldier's life was one of relentless duty, shaping the course of history with every step.